Welcome to the Alternative Dog Moms podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom for more than 10 years. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I began raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott from the Believe in Dog podcast. For more than 10 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself. And I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned in case it could help you too. As the Alternative Dog Moms, Kimberly and I are bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and the brilliant people we're meeting along the way. Now let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin.
So I was surprised when I realized that we have done all these episodes and we've never done one about red light therapy, because this is actually something I've used for a long time, and I have a funny story that I will tell. But I'm very excited to introduce our guest. We have Jackie Jolie here from AnimaSol, and she is going to fill us in on all the things. So welcome, Jackie.
Thank you, ladies. I'm so honored to be on your podcast. I appreciate the time and super excited to talk about light and pets.
Yes. Tell us how you got started in this. This is like such an interesting field to me. Like how did your career go in this direction?
Yeah, so probably very similar to you guys. Always loved animals as a kid. I wanted to be a vet. Obviously, life takes its own choices, pathways in the way it's meant to be. So did not become a veterinarian. The last almost 20 years, I've been an equine and canine body worker. So physical therapist, working with performance animals, mostly on the horse side, but worked on plenty of agility dogs. Course, people have dogs, that tear ACLs and things like that. Very rewarding job. You learn how the body works, biomechanics, rehabbing them, and they're performing. So when they perform and do a competition, you really get really great feedback on some of the work you've been able to help them sustain that performance. I knew a little bit about lights in the form of lasers when I did my work from some of the internships I had at like rehab facilities and things. But that's really all that was available, 12, 15 years ago. They were strong. They were expensive. I never really had the ability to bring them into my practice, but I knew about them. I used them, and they worked. I didn't get into the light story that we're going to kind of break into today until I had to go through my own health journey. So I got Lyme disease 6 years ago from a tick bite. And because of the career I had with animals, I already looked at the body as like a very natural, holistic approach to healing and health. And so I didn't want to go the allopathic route of taking antibiotics for 3 months, which I didn't. And I did heal it naturally with some herbal tinctures and some different health protocols and diet. So that was great. But when I killed and healed from the Lyme disease, I still had a ton of side effects I couldn't recover from. Brain fog, I couldn't recover from workouts. And I was very athletic at the time. I was 35, rode horses, worked on horses. And so I ended up getting turned on to a topic called quantum biology from a neuroscientist that teaches about it. And it just made my head explode. And it made so much sense getting back to nature, bringing healthy light environments back into your life to heal your body. So I decided to be the guinea pig, and I just started doing it on myself. And you guys, like my life and hormones and like all the levels on the test that they take your blood for, everything improved, and then just kept optimizing. So like I'll be 42 this year. My brain works like a Ferrari. My body works like a Ferrari. Like I recover and just spin and run on energy due to natural light life compared to what I did in my 20s, which I was not having a natural light life then. So in the process of kind of optimizing my health, I just kept digging into quantum biology even more. And that would be a 8-hour conversation if we open that can of worms. And perhaps you'll want me back and we can dig. But basically, it's on the pillars of light, water, and magnetism, which is how all living things on this planet became, created, thrive, build, grow things, and reproduce. And the basis of that is light. So light is the foundation of our health. And as my health got better, I then started to look at the animal industry that I had worked in that I love so much. And I'm like, oh, they're getting sicker and sicker at younger and younger ages, just like the human counterparts. The cancer rates, the autoimmune conditions, the chronic disorders that didn't exist 20 years ago. And if you look at the wild dogs, cats, and horses outside, they don't have any of those issues. So I said, okay, it's a light problem. It's a light environment problem, even over exercise, sleep, and diet, right? We can dig into that. And so one day I literally was laying on a beach. I took myself on vacation to heal my body and get more light. And God just like downloaded the invention of a full body blanket on horses and dogs. And I took off running. And that was about 5 years ago. We just launched August of 2024. So we are a new company. And we can get into kind of design and different things about the science. But that's kind of my story wrapped up in a nutshell of where I started and how we got to where we are now.
So I'm curious from a human health perspective, I have come to shift my thinking on it. So my dad and my uncle have both dealt with skin cancer. Like they get the spots. So like my dad just had like a big part of like his face removed, for skin cancer. But on the other hand, I do understand that like there are so many benefits to being out in the sun. And I try to get out and walk the dogs and get the vitamin D and in the morning. And my husband was even doing this thing for a while where you like go out in the morning and are like looking at the sun. And so like why like obviously we know people can get sunburns and we know people can get skin cancer. But yet it also can be very healing. Like, how do we make sense of like this conflicting information?
Well, that takes us on a whole nother rabbit trail for a second. But yes, the sun is always healing. And unfortunately, it has been very demonized in the last probably 40 to 50 decades. And if we really want to get on that hill, there was only one study done back in the late 30s on UVB that literally ended up going and teaching us to create this paradigm, this illusion of the sun is dangerous for you and it will kill you by giving you skin cancer. And if you look at the study and break it down by how it was produced, because a lot of science can be out there, but a lot of it can be very limited in how it's actually built and constructed in the study. If you look at the study done in the late 30s, number one, the study was done inside a laboratory. So it was underneath artificial lights already. It wasn't even outside. Number two, it was done on mice. So mice and humans, yes, are both mammals, but mice are nocturnal and most of them have white skin. So they're already going to respond differently to light than humans would. And also, if you don't do a study on humans out in sunlight, how can you tell them that it's bad for them? Number three, they were exposing the mice to only UVB bulbs. So basically like putting a mouse in a tanning bed. And yes, if you're only exposed to only UVB, then yes, it can be very inflammatory to your skin and eventually cause tumors. And that's where the mice got tumors. And then all of a sudden, we have a paradigm of the sun is dangerous, it's going to give you cancer, and it's going to kill you. The sunscreen industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And during the years of COVID, not one, not two, not 10, but 80 different sunscreen brands were recalled because they had too high of carcinogenic ingredients in them.
Wow.
Everything you put on your skin is in your system within a minute. And so if you're putting carcinogenic products and ingredients, chemicals, poison into your body, then that is also has an opportunity to cause cancer. So could it be that sunscreen actually gives us cancer and not so much the sun? Now that's a whole mind blow and shift from the conversation of where we were going to be.
No, but it makes so much sense because okay, so let's go further down this random road you took us on because I learned over the past, I went through a minor health crisis a couple summers ago, and that sent me down the rabbit hole of nutrient deficiencies because, like you, mine wasn't as severe as yours, but still, it was like I'm going to do this naturally before I start letting them put prescription medicine inside of me. And so I was like, here's are my symptoms. Could this be a nutrient deficiency? And it was. Vitamin D. Over 80% of Black women in the US are deficient in vitamin D because of the melanin in our skin. And I remember growing up all these years being told that just because you have more melanin in your skin doesn't mean you shouldn't be using sunblock because you need, and we would, not only did we need to use sunblock, but for some reason, the marketing was that we needed it even more.
Yeah.
And so we were buying like I mean, the 50 is more recent, but back then, like the 35 and just like you didn't want the sun to touch you. And yeah, exactly. And you were going inside, reapplying it. And it's hilarious because today I did so many things that I bought into. And today, like when I moisturize my skin, I use tallow. I don't use anything. I mean, and tallow is so easy to get. Like, I know so many people who have tallow at home, and it's just a matter of, do you want me to whip it up for you, or are you going to whip it up yourself? Do you want me to add
Doesn't it
the
smell
oils?
weird?
It is no, it
Okay.
doesn't really. It smells kind of like I don't know. I can't explain what it smells like, but it doesn't have a bad smell. It smells like this, mostly like the essential oil that's in it. And the amount that I can get a container that's this big, and I know people listening can't see, but let's just say half of the size of a cocoa therapy, their small version of their jar. I can get a container of that much, and that will last me for months. And I have so much tallow in my house. And but because you only need a little tiny dot of it, and you just massage her out, put it and I use it morning and evening, and I use, like, what is it? Um, Castor oil on my eyes to keep them from being swollen and dark or anything like that. I mean, there's all these natural things, whereas the beauty industry has convinced us that, oh, well, you're getting old now, so you need to start doing it. And it's just like, and you don't think about what all those chemicals are doing to the biggest organ that we have, our skin.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now,
I'm ready to go back.
no, I love that, and thank you for sharing all of that. But there's some information that you gave that I do want to get back to your original question with Aaron, because again, you have somebody come on like me and they tell and they're like, "Oh, we can just go outside because Jackie Jolie said so," and then burn the hell out of our skin, and she's wrong. There are some nuances, right? So, like, when we look at the immigration and movement of human society that they even have, like in civilization from the beginning of time, apparently all of us did start closer to the equator. We all actually had darker skin, all of us. So this is also something where we could completely change racism, like, for good, if we could just describe that, like, skin color is a light story. Like, that's it. It's just a light story. So as we immigrated to other areas along the globe, like my ancestors are from like the Czechoslovakian area, Eastern European. So we got into colder temperatures, we got into higher latitudes, and we got further away from the equator that created so much sun that we needed darker skin with more melanin in it to just protect it so that you could be absorbing that light without any inflammatory effects. So as we moved north and more east into the colder areas, we got lighter hair, we got lighter eyeballs, we got lighter skin color, because we needed to absorb the most vital nutrient that we needed in the existence of the universe, light. And so that's kind of how all of that works. So yes, when you have lighter skin, so if you have Irish backgrounds, Polish backgrounds, Canadian backgrounds. Yeah, you have super lighter skin, right? Like, I have some American Native Indian in me, so I have a little bit of like some tone to it, even in the middle of winter. You do need to be more careful how you build up your skin tolerance. But I have gotten plenty of Irish friends now with tans because they listened to me and they went out and they got their sun in an appropriate manner, right? If we think about modern Americans now, we are inside all the time, blue light toxic, not around natural spectrum. And then, yeah, we go to the beach for 1 week, we fry our skin because we're too exposed, we don't have a good callus. And then, surprise, surprise, that we have either tumors pop up or moles pop up. Honestly, like, for me sitting on this hill, skin cancer is not going to kill you. That's like, we're probably all going to end up with some small version of that by the time we're 85. That's not what's going to get you. It's going to totally be something else. Especially if you start living outside, you're going to live way longer and you're not going to have chronic conditions. So I'd rather weigh on the risk of like getting skin cancer at 85 and I'm almost dead than live a life of like really bad disease and chronic illness. And they're showing people that actually get skin cancer, it shows up on areas of the body that never see the sun. So make that make sense, right? Like,
Yeah.
spoons don't make people fat. The sun is not causing you to have skin cancer. It's the actual withdrawal of those suns, the sun and the rays in the spectrum. So every single cell in our mammalian bodies have something called melanopsin. And it's a light trigger. Those were found back in like 2014, and they're still not really, in mainstream yet, because that's how science unfortunately works. But they're actually a light sensor. And so every single cell in your body has one of those. Well, how often does your belly see the sun? How often does your rest of your skin, and how often do you get out naked and sunbathe in the sun, right? Now, there is a method to this, of course, because if you haven't been in the sun for a while, or if you're not gifted with a lot of melanin in your tissue, At sunrise and at sunset, you only get red, and this might be a nice segue right into red light therapy, since we completely started down the rabbit hole first. At sunrise and sunset, you only get red and near infrared wavelengths. Those are the deepest penetrating and the most healing for your body. So what we like to call in the quantum biology perspective is you need to build your solar callus. So your body has the ability to build its own natural SPF with using melanin, right? And the melanopsins in the skin tissue actually produce that melanin for you by the responses that it's getting by the light that's outside. So the red and near infrared at sunrise, if you get out and you get exposed to that, it's going to start creating a solar callus in your body. So this is a perfect time of year for everyone listening, including the host. We are right about to hit spring. This is the time to start building your solar callus. You go outside in the morning, get your skin as much exposed as you can, your eyeballs as well, no sunglasses, no sunscreen, okay? And you start exposing your body to that light. That's going to build that solar callus so that then later when the UVA and the UVB do come in, which you need those for specific reasons, your body's actually going to be able to handle that intense light. And then in the beginning, if you haven't done this, use discernment. Don't just stay out there 4 hours frying because Jackie Jolie told you to. Use discernment. If you start feeling your skin getting pink or tingling, like throw a shirt on, throw a hat on, go inside for a little while. Like you need to take those breaks. And then when sunset comes back in, you also only get red and near infrared. So that's your big brother of protection to come in and recover your skin. And then the biggest thing is, even though I'm here to talk about light and getting natural light exposure, we have something called circadian rhythms in our body. They are clocks. Every single system in our body runs by clocks. The clocks work off of light signals and dark signals. We're supposed to have 12-ish hours of light and 12-ish hours of darkness, depending on your location on the globe and the time of the year, right? Most modern people are living under light 24/7. So our circadian rhythms are mismatched. They don't know what to do. Our systems don't know what to do. And so at night, when you're supposed to be sleeping and resetting your genes and killing cancer cells and all that, well, you can't do that because you have all the lights on and your circadian rhythms aren't in check. So you can't kill cancer. You can't fight cancer. You can't fight viruses. And so that's this story that we just brought out in the first 10 minutes of this podcast. This is the larger mission that I want to take on as a company. I really want to provide quantum biology and that information to the pet industry because people aren't talking about it. And sneakily, if pet parents make their light environments safer and healthier for their pets, then guess what? The humans get safer and healthier as well, and they get good light exposure. So that's kind of, the roundabout cycle, I guess, for that first question. So thank you for lighting it on fire.
Well, thank you for indulging me. So talk to us generally. I feel like there's so many terms out there. So my understanding, I guess, is when we say red light therapy, that's kind of like a catch-all term, right? And then there's so many other things like near infrared, and you were saying with with the sunrise and stuff. So tell us, like, what are the words that we should be paying attention to?
Yes. So we can probably go back to the original topic of like the sun, right? When we were in biology school, we learned the full spectrum, which was the rainbow, Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, indigo, blue, and violet. Each one of those colors come down to us in color. We can't see all of it. So the human eye can only see 0.003% of the full spectrum. So we can barely see much of it at all. We see the reds and the oranges at sunrise, sunset, a little bit of the blues, right, that are being reflected back. So all of those wavelengths of the light come down to us with information, packets of light called photons, and that information comes into the body and gives the body those different directions. And that's what we're lacking, even all the colors, right? When we look at red and the infrared, again, is dominant at sunrise, dominant at sunset, and then it's still always present even when the sun is out with the blue, green, indigo, and violet as your big brother, as your protector. So the red and the near infrared are definitely the most deepest penetrating and deepest healing for the body. Now, when we brought that into light therapy to actually use as a therapeutic modality, they basically decided the scientific term of that is photobiomodulation. Super sciencey. It's a mouthful. It's hard to say 3 times fast. So, on the veterinary side and the practitioner side, the scientist side, they're going to say photobiomodulation. There's lots of other categories of like low-level light, low-level laser, laser light, LED light therapy. And now, as it's kind of become a big trend in health, it is kind of being caught as a catch-all, like you said, red light therapy. But I'm even noticing, since I'm in the business, that now red light therapy is even kind of becoming a nuance of like not catching the full information, because as consumers get educated, they realize that you need both red and near infrared to truly get the deepest absorbing wavelengths. And if you're just using the red light spectrum, it's not going to penetrate very far into the body, especially if we're using it on pets that have fur, right? Because that's a big benefit that comes up too. So in the spectrum, if we're going to just focus on red and near infrared for the aspect of this podcast, red runs from 600 to 700 nanometers. It's a really small window. And then near infrared runs from 700 all the way up to about 1200. So you have a much broader spectrum there. And then once you get past 1200, there is actually another infrared called far infrared. And that's where you get an actual like thermal effect. So if you think of like a sauna that you would go sit in, that's a far infrared device. It's actually going to heat your body up to sweat and detox and all of that. And they can be healthy, but you also want to be very careful heating up things and creating a thermal effect, because you don't like to overheat soft tissue injuries or organs, right? And so the red and the near infrared is rarely where you get that best healing modality using light in those two spectrums, but you do want to make sure that you have both. And the near infrared is really what penetrates deeper. That will go up to 50 millimeters into the tissue. So that's all the way to like the bone marrow, nerve, vertebrae. The red light spectrum is going to be much more of your superficial stuff, wound recovery, hair regrowth, skin, fungus issues, and like collagen production.
Okay. And so when it comes to both of those, is it supposed to heat up our dogs? I know you said the far, but these products that people are seeing all over, I've seen in the notes where they'll mention heating, and that just seemed wrong to me. And so what are we looking at, and what should we be aware of?
Good job on your intuitiveness there. If you're getting a true red and near infrared light therapy device, it should never be heating your animal up. It is not a thermal device. I will say the red and the infrared is going to create circulation in the body, which is something that we want. And like our devices are timed for 15 minutes. So like after the 15 minutes, you'll feel like a slight warmth to the body and to the product, but it's not heating. It is not hot. And that's even where like LED technology that we have now compared to lasers that we had before are a little bit better for safety and efficacy, especially for pet parents to have them, because lasers do create a thermal effect. They're overheated, right? They're so powerful that they are beaming this like line of light down into the body, and it can create a thermal effect. So that's why it's contraindicated to use on cancers, to use on bodies, parts of the body that have had metal inserted from, a car accident or a surgery or something. And they are expensive and pricey and dangerous. You have to have protective glasses. You can cause harm. I've seen many soft tissue ligament burns, like all the way through the ligament from a laser.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you have to be I was just at VMX, and we had a bunch of vet tech students that came into the booth, and I was trying to describe, the difference between lasers and LEDs. And they were like, "Oh yeah, we've singed the hair off of so many different dogs." And I'm like, we can't keep doing this, That's a safety problem. That's a safety issue. So with LEDs being promoted, they shouldn't create heat. They're not overpowered. And they can really provide this amazing therapy to come home now to illuminate the animals more, which we need. Now we actually this as like a supplement, not just a therapy.
And with the coats of our dogs, and I mean, I have 4 dogs, so they have 4 different types of coats. Do we have to move the hair aside to use these products?
If the product is built correctly, you should not. So there was a lot of back and forth about like shaving the animals, dark coats versus furry coats. And yes, sometimes if you had like a Burmese mountain dog, right? Tons of thick coat. Sometimes it's a very dark color. So again, they've got a lot more melanin in their coat. They need more light to be able to absorb and penetrate. A lot of times with those cases, I might just say like, hey, you might want to do 2 sessions back to back. It's still going to penetrate through. But for that deepest healing absorption rate, you might have to do 2 sessions back to back. But I have to be honest with our products. I just haven't seen that happen yet. Like it works, even just in that 15 minutes. But it is important to have contact methods. So I would like to talk about that because there's over 7,000 scientific articles already behind photobiomodulation, right? Tons. It's one of the most studied modalities out there. It's one of the best ones you can choose for your return on investment for healing with no risk of side effects when you're using LEDs. in those 7,000 scientific articles, there was a couple parameters that made sure it showed that it had a healing therapeutic effect. Number one, they were low level light. So either LEDs or a very low level laser. So we don't necessarily always have to buy the most expensive, most powered devices. You can actually cause more inflammatory problems if it's more powerful and strong. So that was number one. It was all low level light that was actually producing a healing effect. Number two, it was contact method. So whether it was a human specimen, mouse, cat, dog, horse, whatever, it was contact method so that it was on the skin. All of us mammals and living things, we absorb, but we also reflect light. And especially if they have a coat of fur. So if you're using like a red light therapy panel, that's on the market. I've seen plenty of animals go and, lay in front of those. And they're probably feeling good from the light. But as far as getting like a healing therapeutic dosage to heal, an injury, a fracture, cancer, any type of those types of things, you want to have something contact method. So
Okay.
those were a couple of the parameters along with wavelengths. Like there are specific wavelengths that do penetrate at certain depths and do certain things in the body. So those were like the three parameters to always really look for to know that you're going to get, a treatment that really is effective.
Okay. And so that's why, like your coat, because I saw at the Feed Real Summit, the coat being put on dogs. And that was something that I was looking for Zoe, just something because it would be so much easier not to have to sit, because I have to sit with her and hold the little wand on her. But I'm devoted to doing this experiment, but she doesn't like it, because she's just sort of like, well, why are you sitting here? And why, and I'm just, because I do sit with her and I play with, but usually we're walking around or we're doing something. We very rarely just sit for an extended period of time. And she's kind of like, yeah, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to go over there now because I need my space.
Yeah.
And so putting like a coat on her, especially, when I know that she's going, like, after a walk or something, so I know she's gonna settle in for
Yeah.
it would be so much easier
Yes.
to do
Yeah.
that
The
rather
one
than
I have is like a heating pad size.
yeah.
And so it's always like this like covert op of like waiting till they're like asleep, Nina's asleep and I'm trying to like sneak it up like
Yeah.
against him, because he's like, "What are you doing? You're doing something weird to me."
I know. I know, because I knew that because I've seen ones that are like, yeah, they're kind of a blanket type of thing where they can lay on it, and I know that Zoe would not do that. She would lay next to it, but she would not lay on it. It's something that I need to put on her and strap to her in order for her to keep it
Yeah,
on.
that's really
Otherwise,
a brilliant
she's
like
gonna leave.
method.
Yeah, and a lot of the design came from being a body worker, but then also in this larger idea of like if we look at animals actually being deficient in near red and near infrared light, we need to be giving them a large supplement and dosage of light every day because we're not living outside anymore like we used to. And so, the handhelds are great, they work, lasers are great, they work, but if you can illuminate the whole body, now you're getting that systemic effect
Yeah.
of the whole body and truly supplementing that light into the body. And then obviously contact method, you're not losing any from reflection. It's going to get into the whole body. We designed ours with 5 wavelengths as well, which most products only have 1 to 3. We also did a ratio of 2 to 1 near infrared to red. So you're actually getting more near infrared than red. And most companies just do only red or more red because it's cheaper. Um, and so ours are definitely designed that way. And then we also have the patented belly band. So that definitely came from bodywork days of everybody forgets about the ventral line of the animal. I think if since they're down on all fours, it's like out of sight, out of mind. And I've worked on that area so much on animals and it's always neglected. There's musculature there, there's organs there, your heart and your lungs, and then your gut microbiome is there. And if you think about any of the surgical things too, spay and neuter, C-section, bloat, colic, castration for horses, you can help relieve all of that and, prevent the scar tissue. But the gut microbiome is the biggest one because I'm sure, as you guys know, in this industry that we're in, and natural healing, we've learned that the gut is the second brain. So there's so much importance there, not just for digesting food. Obviously, the microbiome is there and that's important. And we're doing fecal transplants now and probiotics and prebiotics. But there's a lot of other things that are made in your gut. Your immune system is made there. Your sexual hormones are made there. And if you are spay and neutered, you need those hormones to still be somewhat active for longevity, not just for reproduction. And then also our feel good hormones are made in the gut. So like your serotonin, tryptophan, dopamine. So if you think of dogs that are anxious or aggressive, there could be something that's going on in the gut. And like I talked about before, every cell has light signals. So how often does the gut get to see the sun? How often are you putting your belly out in the sun? How often?
Never, never, ever.
Yeah, and look at our immune systems. Look at what we can't handle. We can't get exposed to viruses anymore. We can't get exposed to bacteria anymore. We have chronic illness. We have respiratory issues. We have chronic metabolic issues. All of that is stemming from really a lot of gut issues, and our dogs and our cats and our horses aren't getting that. Like my dogs, when they get to go outside, they roll in the grass and ground, and then they literally roll and show their belly to the sun for like 30 minutes. Like they know, we don't have to tell our animals how to be healthy. Us humans make it super complicated. Um, but that's really important there too, of what we put that in the design for, and we do hope to get some research behind that as well. But it will really help with some gut issues that just lead to long-term health overall.
Wow, I never thought of it being connected to gut health also. That's really interesting.
Ooh, and I have a question. What about fatty tumors? Because dogs, as they get older, they have fatty tumors all over the body. Does this positively or negatively impact with fatty tumors?
I have kind of like yes and no on that answer. Number one, just because we haven't had enough case studies to try it on and get some good, solid feedback of like, yes, it will help them all. I've had a couple of dogs that are older that already have some that are benign and they don't really go anywhere. Some of them might like shrink a little bit. They definitely don't get any more or grow anymore, but some of them, if they've already had it, it's kind of like that's formed, there's scar tissue there, it's kind of there. But I will say on my personal dog, my boy, he's an Amstaff. We had a situation about 2 years ago where he accidentally got a rabies booster. It wasn't intended. And like 30 days later, he got this big, nasty MCT on his ear. And I knew it was malignant because it was oozing, it was black, it was not friendly. And I was actually developing my handheld torch device at that time. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to aspirate it. So my only option is to go to the vet, put them under and slice it off. So I was like, well, let me just throw light at it for a little while and just see what happens. And so we put the torch device on him. I did it twice a day, every day. And eventually what happened is the black ooziness scabbed over and then the tissue went soft. And I will say the tumor got a little bit bigger for a couple of days, which can definitely worry people. But when we're healing, the body's flooding it with, antibodies and, circulation. And then it started to shrink and shrink and shrink. And literally at day 45, it just fell off. Like,
Wow.
Oh, nice.
so now granted, I caught that very acutely, very recently. So like I think you have a very good chance when it is much caught sooner and quicker. But we've definitely had some long-term cases and cancer cases too, where they've even just got better quality of life and longevity of life while they were fighting some of those issues.
Yeah.
Wow. So talk to us about like how exactly does this work?
Yeah. Okay, so that'll kind of tie back to our original start with the sun, right? So again, all of our cells have a light sensor in them. Every cell also has a mitochondria. So if we go back to biology school again, we learned in school that that mitochondria in our cells were the powerhouse of the cell, right? And that's all I remember learning. But the mitochondria does.
That's about the extent of my knowledge, yes.
Yeah. And also for all the germaphobes out there, if they are, mitochondria are a bacteria. So that means you have trillions of bacteria literally running your body. Like the mitochondria, like they need to be your best friends and you need to do everything for your mitochondria and you will live healthy and long and run like a Ferrari. So the mitochondria respond to their environment. And that's kind of where like quantum comes in. Like quantum has to do with all the things that maybe we can't see, touch, smell, or taste, but still have like an effect on us. And light is the strongest natural source of energy that we have. So those photons that I talked about that come from the sun, they come into the cell and they innervate with the mitochondria. And there's a bunch of like science that you can definitely get into, electron chain transport and C oxidase and all these things, but we'll keep it light today. It comes into the mitochondria and it just asks them to do their job faster and more efficiently, which mitochondria, yes, make your ATP for you. So it makes your energy. Who doesn't want more energy, right? Who doesn't want more zoomies in their pet's life for as long as possible?
Yes.
It also makes heat in the form of near infrared. So as far as like that circulation effect that's going to come in, if you think about older dogs with arthritis, or if you live somewhere where it does get really cold a lot, like that's going to be a great way to warm up the body, get it circulating for range of motion in the joints. And then it also makes and hydrates your cellular water. So when we were in biology school as well, we only heard there was 3 phases of water, right? Liquid, solid, and gas. There's actually a 4th stage of water called easy water, exclusion zone water. And so it's a cellular water that's very plasma-like, so almost like jello. And that surrounds every single one of our cells. And it's like your barrier to where like it's not going to let toxins, viruses, bacteria, just anything negative to kind of get into the cell. The mitochondria helps build that. Well, it responds from sunlight and light signals to create that. Guess what zaps it? Not having natural light and Wi-Fi.
Oh.
So think about all your
Wow.
5G and your modems and your Wi-Fi in your house, zapping that cellular water both in your bodies and your pets' bodies.
Wow.
Now, that's a whole nother quantum level that we can come back to a podcast for. But it also has a huge effect. And so if we're just dropping seeds of nugget knowledge, like let's just keep going. But so it comes into the mitochondria, asks it to do its job better. And that's really it. So like the light is coming in and asking the body to turn on its natural healing abilities, which it totally has. Our bodies are so intelligent and we get in the way. And it's just going to ask to do those things better with no side effects. So the cell can only fill up with so much light at one time. And so as long as you're using LEDs like our devices are, the cell will just fill up with light, use it, integrate it through the body, and then it's ready for another session. So there's no risk of like causing harm or overdosing, burning. There's no risk of any of that with a device that's built with LEDs and also not plugged into a wall.
Oh, what's the being plugged into a wall?
So anything
Yeah, I
plugged into a
noticed
wall.
that
So
too.
that will also go onto the magnetic side of Wi-Fi and smart devices. So we have magnetic fields. Like if you guys believe in frequency devices, right? Like the CC loop or PEMF stuff, like those are all a frequency device. Frequency is great. We get a natural frequency from the ground. It's called the Schumann resonance. It runs at like 7.83 hertz. If you go and put your bare feet or the bare paws of your animals on the ground, they will receive real energy, real healing. There's tons of science behind this.
Grounding.
Magnetic wounds and things, right? That's grounding. And that is our natural magnetic field. Now, there can be man-made magnetic fields that are inflammatory. So anything that plugs into a wall that's connected to the AC, the AC outlets, it creates a non-native EMF. That's what that's called, a non-native electromagnetic field. And so anything plugged into a wall creates those. Any Wi-Fi smart devices create those, and it is radiation that you are putting into the body. So it can be inflammatory. So you just have to be very careful there. If you're working with a company that they talk about that on their website, they test their devices, then you know that they're on that knowledge. Not a lot do. And so that's also something to kind of pay attention to. If you have a battery powered device like ours, there's zero non-native EMFs. You're not creating anything from the battery.
Okay, that was going to be my question. So how does yours work then?
Yeah, mine are created with lithium batteries. So they're rechargeable just like your cell phone. So
Okay.
they can recharge. They get like 8 to 10 usages out of one use. And then we have a cord and a case and everything we provide you with, and it charges overnight and then ready to go again.
And so what are the different, I know you said there's like a torch, and Kimberly and I have both seen the one that's like the wearable blanket for the dog. So what are the different like options that we have for our pets?
Yeah, first and foremost, all of our devices are safe for all animals and all species. So even if you bought like a dog coat, the cat can use it, you can use it, the kid can use it, the goat can use it. There's no, differentiation there on the products. They're all built the same and to help all animals. So we do have our dog blanket, which is the full coat that wraps around them with the patented belly band. We have 6 different sizes in those. And those are really the optimal product we do try to get to consumer because, again, even if they have a hurt front leg, you still want to give a systemic effect to the whole body because the whole body is going to compensate when there's an injury or an illness, okay? And the idea of supplementing light now. We really want to supplement that with a full body treatment. On the horse side, we have leg wraps and bell boots that you can also use all over the body as well. And then we just released our full horse blanket. So same thing, it's a full blanket with a belly band, neck, and pole piece.
That must be huge.
It's enormous. There's like over 7,000 diodes on that thing. It is incredible. And humans could wrap themselves up in that, I think.
Yeah.
I won't put it against any riders that they'll definitely do so. And then we have a red light therapy pad because I started having people ask me about cats. And I was like, well, what cat is going to wear a jacket and how do you measure for that. So, I really thought that everybody that has a cat probably has a pet carrier and like, a little pad can go right on
Yeah,
the
that's a good idea.
bed or a windowsill. Well, then we came out with the cat soul pad. Well, then people started using it for everything. Goats, parrots, roosters, ferrets. And so we've just redesigned that to where it's not going to be just the cat soul pad. It's going to be the AnimaSol red light therapy pad. It's 11 by 8, super accessible price point wise as well. Lithium batteries, rechargeable, and so you can use that on your back, on your belly. You can use it for the goat, for the cat. We send it with straps, so you can strap it on animals if you need to. And then we have our handheld torch, so that's going to be just a handheld device. It's probably our first accessory point as far as price point goes. If somebody just wants to say like, I don't have a lot of money to invest in a jacket yet, I've never tried red light therapy, like let me get a torch and try. The torch is really great because you can do isolated areas as well. You're just going to end up doing more sessions because it's handheld. Um, we also included blue light in one of the protocols for the torch. So blue light is naturally antiviral and antibacterial. So if you have ringworm, roundworm, some eczema issues, skin fungus, you can fight that fungus and bacteria with the blue light, and then the red and the infrared with it will heal the tissue and the fur around it. It comes with 2 attachment pieces, so you can also do treatments on like mouth, nose, ear, rectum, eyes, which is something lasers cannot touch. It's too soft of tissue. And so you have that option there as well. So the torch is great. I don't even travel anywhere without mine. Like it helps me when I fly and like have all kinds of digestive issues. And so the torch is fantastic to have. And then our last product that'll come out in a couple months is going to be a human blanket. So we'll have kind of like a sleeping bag for humans that they can get
Oh,
in.
wow. Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of our lineup of our products. Wireless, rechargeable, 5 wavelengths, 2-to-1 near infrared to red ratio. Tons of science behind it. We've done a ton of case studies to help animals try to prove, proof of concept. And we do have goals of getting clinical studies and stuff like that behind our product to keep it as the gold standard. But it's been really, really incredible.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So I have one. I've had it for probably 10 years. It's like the size of like, yeah, like a heating pad type. And so, yeah, if I have a neck pain or a shoulder pain or something, it's very helpful, been very helpful for me. I originally got it for my old girl who was my CCL tear dog, and then I was like, "Oh, this really works." And so I've used it more, I guess, like targeted. Like I'm just using it like on one spot that's really sore. But I guess what you're saying is like it's really actually just all around beneficial. Like there's kind of like there doesn't seem to be like there's any downside or like contraindication or anything. Is that right?
Absolutely. You really can use light anywhere and everywhere. Again, as long as like the product is built safe and effective. You can't do that with lasers. So I do want to make sure just all of those caveats are there in the conversation. But yeah, you can use it anywhere. And if you have an animal or yourself that's having, immune issues or stomach upset or some, physical issues, do your gut. Like that is where all of your good juju is made. So like put red light therapy on your gut and the injured area, or the sickness area, but do some red light therapy on the gut, get outside and get your gut outside, get your, paws and bare feet outside. Like nobody's ever going to be able to replace the perfect healing nature of nature. But we try our best and the modern world's not going anywhere. So that's why you build devices like this to provide that supplement for people to use while they are inside. But yeah, you can use it anywhere.
So my funny story about this is that we liked ours so much that I ended up getting one for my parents. They're older, they have a lot of aches and pains. My dad's got knee problems. And the one that I have is, marketed towards animals. So first, like, I'm so excited to give them this, right? And then they're like, it's like a for dogs, and it's like, well, like they don't have a dog, so they're very confused. And so I'm trying to explain this, and I could just see they were just like not getting it. They're like, okay, she just got us like the weirdest, most useless Christmas present, and they like stuck it in like a cabinet for like 3 years or something. And then last summer, my dad fell. I'm like, please, for the love of God, use this thing. And like, I get this call one day, like, that thing really works.
Told you.
So it is Aaron, dad, approved, who is the least woo woo, least open minded person to like anything. And even he's like, it works.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm hoping to get something that I can use on each of my dogs and Johan and myself, because Johan got into a really bad accident a few years ago, and he's still going through it with his back. And I would love to get something that can go around, his waist, or whatever, but basically hit that area. Because I've told him about it, but the ones, of course, I'm looking at the ones that are going to be. I'm not looking at the $40-$50 ones that you find on Amazon. I want something that actually is going to work. And I think for him, and probably for a lot of people, the price point is like,
Yeah.
but it's like when you think about the fact that you're making this investment, I mean, at least this is how I look at it. I'm making an investment in something that it's not just going to be for Zoe, who's my senior dog, but it'll be for Zoe, Apollo, Bella, and Buffy. And it'll help them in so many ways. With Zoe, it's, with her joints and aging. Apollo's 7 years old. He's fine, but it can still just keep him fine. With Bella, she has anxiety. And I know that anxiety has a lot to do with the gut health. And so that can just give her a boost right there. And then with Buffy, she has environmental allergies. And so again, gut health, and that can help her right there. And just the idea that I can just through the week move it around to each dog, and then maybe use it a little bit myself, and just to see where they are now versus where they will be 45 days from now, 60 days from now, and how that works. It's pretty compelling. And to me, that might be a really good investment. Because if you think about the medications that you won't be giving, the vet appointments that you won't be going to, and just even the stress of worrying about your pets that you won't be experiencing. I mean, I'm convincing myself maybe I'll be making a purchase today.
Me telling you, yeah, that's some. I agree with you. No, you hit it right. You hit the nail right on the head. I mean, as pet parents, and I've worked with them forever, even when I was doing my horse body work and stuff, we don't know what we don't know until we know it. And we love our animals so much. Most of the time, we're spending more money and time on them than we even do for ourselves. Like, I understand all of that. And we do feel desperate sometimes. They get sick and we don't know what to do. And then we do get downloaded with all of these supplements and vitamins and sometimes chemicals and pharmaceuticals. And it takes such a tax on the body as well that if we could really the body with something that is that foundation of health first, then yes, you're going to save money on not needing maybe some of these things later. I'm not here to knock, obviously, supplements or like mushrooms or different things. Like there's lots of things that can help the body. But if the body really runs off of light, let's start there. And if there's something we still need to add in is like acupuncture or, something like that down the road, we can definitely do that. So I agree. It's one of the best returns on investment. And honestly, even with you look at some of the investments of our blankets, when you compare that to like what a laser treatment will cost you from a vet that you have to do multiple times and you have the inconvenience of taking off of work, taking your dog to the vet or getting them to there's a lot of inconvenience there in logistics, and the animals need to be illuminated regularly to truly see the therapy device. Now, when you kind of talk about pricing, I do like to bring that topic of conversation in because I will be honest, all red light therapy should work and will work. So somebody can go onto Amazon and they might buy a $200 device and you might get lucky that it works, right? It takes your back pain away. They put the right wavelengths in it. You might get lucky. The downsides to that is every single red light therapy device on the market for humans or whoever, it's all made overseas, including mine. And I've been over there to visit my manufacturers and work with them because that was a very hard pill to swallow when manufacturing something. However, everybody needs to know that it is made overseas. Now, they make great products if you know how to tell them what to make. And if you're not just a business jumping on the bandwagon right now because red light therapy is hot, right? So you might get lucky that Amazon $200 product works. Take the risk, sure. But if it doesn't and it gets hot or it catches on fire or it stops working, you are not going to have customer service. You are not going to have an educated person on the other side of the line to help you with you and your pet that doesn't talk, right? That you're trying to help out so much. And so I definitely like to try to put that information out there of just, this is a healing amazing modality that I want everybody to have their hands in and using it for their pets. But do try to get some of the education and the discernment. Make sure the company is telling you about wavelengths. There's so many companies that are like, "Ah, that's proprietary." It is not. You cannot patent it. That's why Big Pharma doesn't have it, because you can't patent the sun, you can't patent light. Like, that's not proprietary. Designs can be proprietary, and protocols and things like that you can try to patent, but the light wavelengths, you should be able to be completely honest with that with every
Mhm.
customer. So you should show your wavelengths. You should show your power ratings. Hopefully you're sharing some of the science. Hopefully you're sharing some case studies to show that the therapy works and your product actually did something that it said it does. I definitely believe in running on integrity in that way, especially when it comes to our furry family members, that we do care about and we're spending big bucks on to bring this type of device into our homes.
Yeah. Well, and also one thing that I started doing is looking at the 1 and 2-star reviews because those are gonna be the ones that might give me an idea of what went wrong. I mean, it's not just people being bitter about customer service, but, I saw some where people were getting used product. They were paying new prices, but they were getting used products that, someone just repackaged and sent to them. And there was another thing with the products that plugged into the wall that eventually the plug stopped working. And actually, when I say eventually, I mean, like, within the first 30 to 60 days it became detached. And then again, this is a very expensive product and something doesn't work. And are they going to replace it? I mean, and you have so many people saying the same thing. And I'm looking at the dates, and the dates are spanning a couple years. So clearly they didn't fix it. I mean, those are the type of things that I have been looking into because, again, going back to the investment, sometimes it's worth spending a little bit more just to not have to deal with that hassle.
Yes.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Yeah. And it's good to use discernment as a consumer to look at those things.
Yeah.
And so, what can we do to help? Like what kind of questions or data should we be looking for when we're looking to buy a red light device?
Yeah. So, kind of again, I think that a company should be telling you the wavelengths that they're using. All different wavelengths work for different things. I definitely think they should have red and near infrared combined. So, if they're not stating that or showing that, or they only have red, red is definitely going to like make you feel a little good and heal like some superficial wounds, but it's not going to do anything deep for healing, fractures, helping with arthritis, chronic disease, things like that. You definitely want to make sure they have both red and near infrared. I would look at the plugged in versions versus wireless, obviously for safety reasons. Wireless is optimal, but also for the non native EMFs, wireless is it's very safe there. Some companies are on that knowledge, some are not, but you could still ask them the question if they're plugged in, or even if they're not, like, hey, what's your non native EMF rating? Um, and then look at the power wattage. Again, we have this mindset, probably more so here in the United States, but in the world as well. Like if it's more high powered and more expensive, then it's better than anything else. And our pets are very present. They're very more sensitive than humans are, so they don't need all that. And we wouldn't be getting that from the sun. Actually, Dr. Ron Reigel is he's a DVM and he's kind of like a photobiomodulation expert. He's been around since the 70s and he's on staff now. And we did an interview with Inside Scoop a couple weeks ago, and he used this analogy when we were talking about lasers versus LEDs. And I loved this analogy. He was like, look, he's like, if you had a garden that you needed to water, right, for things to grow, he's like, what would be more effective? A slow, constant sprinkler that kind of, penetrated the ground evenly at a slow rate consistently, or a pressure washer? So you're looking at lasers versus LEDs in that analogy, right?
Okay.
Mhm.
So low leveled is going to come into the body and kind of the body's going to respond better to that because that's what we would consistently be getting outside as well, instead of just like some really powerful, device that's coming in and just kind of blowing things up in a way. So that's a good thing to look at. And yeah, do they have customer service? Do they have good ratings? Any of that would kind of be typical for any new product on the market, obviously. But yeah, with the light, you definitely want to make sure contact method, wireless, and wavelength stated for sure, and power rating.
Okay. And so you said, I think before we started recording, that it's a myth about not looking
Yeah.
at the lights.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we did need to touch on that. So yeah, that's a lot of questions because obviously, again, the only thing we had for red light therapy before from the 70s was lasers, right? You cannot look at those. You will you will scorch your eyeball out. And we have lasers that cut through metal. We have lasers that perform surgery, and that is just a beam of light. So we have lasers for sure that are super strong and can cause massive issues. You have to wear goggles. You have to wear protection. Now, when LEDs were created, it does make it safer to use those. And actually, there's tons of science behind using like 660 and 670 nanometers of the red wavelength spectrum to actually heal eyesight and actually improve eyesight issues. So you can use sunrise, I promote first and foremost, but you can also use LED devices to do so. However, the caveat is two things. If the company has this high powered device, it's going to be too strong for your eyeballs. And I actually personally experienced that when I was first getting into this. I had a panel that I used. I won't name the name of the company, but they are one of the top ones in the human market. They have affiliates all over the place, and we're the best, we're the best, we're the best. I use his device for 30 days every morning, 10, 15 minutes, right? Actually, 10 minutes on this side and 10 on the other. So only 10 minutes in my eyes. I have above average eyesight. I don't have to wear contacts. I don't have to wear glasses, anything like that. I'm blessed. But in 30 days, I started getting floaters in my eyes. And I didn't know where it came from because like nothing else in my life had changed. I'd been really healthy. And I was like, man, could it have been the panel? So I stopped using it. Shocker. Floaters went away. So there's something with LEDs. All LEDs, even when they're low powered, they do flicker a little bit. It's just the way that the light is manufactured. But if you are on that knowledge, you can ask your manufacturers to make sure that you're at the lowest level. And so there's actually like a regulation below 10 parts per million of the flicker rate to where it's not going to affect like your eyes and your eyesight and when it's low powered. So I can confidently say that all of our devices are at that low level. I lay underneath the sleeping bag and I just close my eyes just because it's more comfortable for me as far as like relaxing and resting. The light's going to penetrate through your eyelid anyways, but it is perfectly safe to look at it and not have that, damaging your eyes. It can actually help your eyesight. You just want to make sure it doesn't have a high flicker and it isn't high powered. And if it's high powered, it's going to have a high flicker. So you just want to be really careful about that.
Okay. And so, yeah, I usually, I guess, have always thought of these more for orthopedic issues, but I guess really you're saying it helps a lot of things. So there's nothing, I guess, that it can harm, or do you say no if there's cancer, or, are there any things that we shouldn't use it for?
Yeah. There's really no contraindications when you're using LED red light devices that are built safe and effectively. There is a lot of inhibition and caution when we do come around the topic of cancer for good reasons, right? Like we don't want to enhance cancer. And I do understand where the theory of like, okay, well, if we're giving energy to cells and cancer is present, we wouldn't want to give that additional energy, right? And with lasers, they are contraindicated. There's so much thermal effect that's coming through the lasers, you could end up expanding the tumor or bursting the tumor if it's there. So you wouldn't want to use lasers on those. With the LEDs, it's a low level light enough. And also, I think with the theory, even though it's valid, I think we take away the intelligence of the body. The body knows what it's receiving. And so the light that we give it, it's going to use it for those healthy cells to be able to maintain good quality of life, even while you're trying to fight cancer, or maybe they're on radiation and you want to help them with like the nausea and the sickness that comes with radiation. With having Dr. Ron Riegel on our team, he's been around red light therapy for 4 decades now. They've never seen a case where like LED red light therapy has caused cancer, or if cancer was already present, that it caused it to grow or become worse. We've had a couple of customers ourselves in our products that have used the product on dogs that had tumors that they were not going to do surgery on, they were not going to do radiation on. The cancer was going to eventually get the dog. I'm definitely not here to say that our product is healing cancer, but they were measuring the tumors on that dog about every 2 to 3 months, and she got about a year and a half after she got our blanket with her dog. And every time they would scan the dog, he didn't have any new tumors, and the tumors that were there had not grown. And she was at least like, hey, he's like happier. He has more energy. He wants to eat more. So he just got a better quality of life from the red light therapy. He was 15, like the cancer did eventually get him. He's gone now. But we were able to use it in those circumstances. So I do truly believe that it is safe to use. And especially if you're going to do surgery and or radiation, the red light therapy can really help support the body to get through those instances.
So do you have any stories that you love of like, pets that this has helped?
We have so many, but
I'm
honestly,
sure.
hero story named Marley. He's on our website. He's on our social media. And since this is a dog podcast, we'll talk about a dog. But he truly is like our hero story. So Marley was a little like Yorkshire Terrier that was abandoned on the streets in Massachusetts. His owner, Kara, found him a few years back. And he was walking. He was fine. He just needed some like love and food, right? So she took him in, adopted him. She had him for about a year, and then all of a sudden he got like massively, like twice his size and weight of inflammation and went completely paralyzed from like down. And so she spent like $10,000 on diagnostics. She did it all: CT scans, MRI, x rays, and ultrasounds. And the only thing the vets could find was just inflammation. They couldn't find like a fracture or like a tumor or like a nerve pinching. They couldn't figure out what was wrong because there was so much swelling. So she spent money on, spinal injections, physical therapy, steroids, pain relievers, all these things. Nothing worked. Nothing. So she built a custom wheelchair. Like, he still wanted to eat. He still had tons of energy. So she was like, he wants to be here, So she built an expensive wheelchair for him. Between her and her mom, they were hand feeding him, rolling him out to use the restroom. She would take him to the beach every Sunday in the wheelchair. Like, loves this dog. And she went to a second vet for a second opinion a couple months after going through these first instances with him, and he had a laser. So they started doing 30-minute laser sessions on his neck. Well, she could only do 3 sessions because he was charging $200 a pop, 30-minute session. The unfortunate side of that is just by doing a little bit on his neck, his paws were kind of like folded in like this permanently from the paralyzation. And the laser actually had him starting to like move those paws. But from those 3 sessions, like, you needed more light, right? Luckily and divinely, she came upon us and our products. And so I sent her a jacket to work with as a case study. And we hit him with a lot of light. We did 30-minute sessions twice a day. And even in my head, I'm like, okay, he's been paralyzed for a year. The laser worked. The laser's strong, right? And so I'm like, it's going to take a little while to see some differences, I think. Like, I'll probably be hearing from her at like 30 days. I fell on the floor, y'all. She texted me at day 5 and said he was standing. At
Oh,
day 10,
wow.
oh yeah. At day 10, he was trying to take steps. And at day 14, he was walking. Now, he was stumbly and he didn't last long, but he was walking by day 14. And now we're a year and a half since that case study. He walks 30-minute walks with his mom every day. He gets up and eats on his own. He pees and poops on his own. He doesn't need the wheelchair. He's just a happy little dude. He shrunk back down to normal size. And what's interesting is about 6 months after the case, I said, will you take him back to the vet and just get some x-rays? Like, I'm just curious, now that he's smaller, all the swelling's gone, like, can we find anything? And so they found that he had 4 herniated discs that were inoperable. So they couldn't go in and do surgery on him. It would kill him. So if you think about that case, if they would have found that originally, it would have been a euthanasia, because it would have been like, well, we can't operate on this. Like, he's paralyzed. Like, you should probably just put him down. And fortunately, it happened the way that it did, that we could find red light therapy. And he still gets a session once a day, 15 minutes, just for maintenance now, because obviously those discs are still there and there's some damage. But he walks every day. He gets to be a dog, and he's just like a happy little dude. And that is the power of what light can do. And we've helped so many dogs now with IVDD, semi-paralyzation in the back legs. And it's been incredible.
Wow.
So just one more question, unless you have another question, Erin. I've noticed that many of your products are out of stock.
Great question.
Which kind of ruins it for me.
Sorry. So,
Color me disappointed. When will you be restocking?
Yes. Everybody just hang out with me for a little bit. It's going to be painful for the next 3 to 4 weeks. We did the inside scoop with Dr. Becker and Rodney Habib 3 weeks ago, and it ripped us apart. We sold out of everything, which is a great problem to have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Happy, but I hate people having to wait. I hate that pressure. So we have put in a massive inventory order and really shouldn't have that problem anymore going forward. But it does take about 3 to 4 weeks to get that new inventory in. So depending on what size you want, I have a couple of things trickling in over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then it'll be about 4 to 5 weeks for the massive order to finally just all be here. So yeah, be patient with me and hang on. But yes, it's all coming back.
Yeah, I think I want to get one for Nino.
I know, right? After we sign off, we'll keep you on for 5 more minutes while I measure my dog, and I'll tell you what size I'm looking for.
Oh my gosh. Well, yes, we'll let you go, Jackie. But
Look,
thank
if you
you
want to
so
have me
much.
on any more time, you want to dig into some of that quantum biology stuff, we can do that. I really had so much fun tonight. And, tell your followers they can find us at AnimaSol on social media. We also have our website, animasol.com. You can find our research, case studies, team, all that good info on there. And just reach out with any questions that you have. That email comes directly to me.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So
Well,
yeah, I was emailing with you earlier this week. So thank you.
yes, and we will have links in the show notes for everybody so they can find you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.